It's been a while, and I'm doing a late video because you never know when I'm going to do it, but hey, we are here today to do overclocking in reverse. Yes, in reverse. We are in BIOS, and we are going to do some overclocking. As I stated, we are going to try to hit 300. All right. So I have my settings put in here, my BIOS settings exactly where I want them. So, all right, I scroll up here. 4292. Let's keep our fingers crossed. Will it start? I don't know. Or did it crash? Let's look down. Holy cow! Will it make it? Will 4.3 gigahertz make it? We got to the Windows screen. We're at the Windows screen. Time's ticking away. Oh, so close. All right. Okay, so I recovered. I will do one thing which I wasn't really going to do because I'll explain later in the video. But I will change my voltage, and that's as high as I'm going to go. So let's try once more. So here we go. I got it back into Windows. So let's move it down just a hair. Let's see if that loads. 4.3. All right, so I went back into BIOS real quick. I changed the voltage to 1.45. So that's the max that I'm going to go at. So if we're back into BIOS, and we're going to try 4.2 gigahertz. Again, the only thing that I've changed from the settings that I've already set up for the system was the CPU ratio and the voltage. Here we go. Let's see if 4.2 gigahertz loads. And we have logged in to 4.2 gigahertz. Let's go to our task manager. Let's scroll in. Yeah. CPU-Z. 4190. It fluctuates. It's all right. See if it changed. Nope. Let's bench one more time. We're at 5218, 19. All right, this might actually crash. Okay. Let's see if this runs or crashes. Well. All right, we are back. Now we're trying for 4.15 gigahertz. All right, 4.15 gigahertz. Let's see what goes on here. Try to scroll in a little. Now again, these are the exact same parameters I set up in BIOS that I'm running for some other stuff. The only thing I changed was the CPU core number and the voltage. This may or may not work. It may actually crash the system. As you can see, let's let me go in here. As you can see, let's see. All right, keep my fingers crossed. Oh my gosh, may it finish a Cinebench run. We're about to find out. Come on, finish, finish. This is 4.15 giga. Back into BIOS. 5. All right, so going to drop the voltage. I'm going to drop the voltage down a little more. Actually, we're going to leave the voltage right there at 1.425. And we're going to exit and we are back, and there is 4.1 gigahertz. All right, so we're set at bench scores. I'm expecting it all. $1596.9. Not what I was expecting, to be honest. Not what I was expecting at all. I could go in and adjust some settings some more, but I'm not changing the rest of my settings. This is to see if these will log in, load at the gigahertz parameters that we're trying to get in. A little better, 1806. All right, we are back in BIOS. I decided that 4.1 gigahertz, even though it was doing stuff, just fluctuated around way too much for me. Okay, we are going to go into 4.09 gigahertz. All right, doing our 4.09 gigahertz CPU-Z test run. This one's gonna run, looks like about 5084.8. Doing our Cinebench run at 4.09 gigahertz. Okay, so I ended up with 4066 megahertz, which was 4.07 gigahertz. That's what the clock speed I ended up going with that I felt was the most stable. Well, it is very stable. Now, this is a Ryzen 7 1700. Let's see, go back to the main page. If you notice, my BIOS version 0702. It is the original BIOS version that came with this. I have changed nothing on BIOS. So, going to my BLCK frequency, which is 100.4, so that I could attain the 4066, and my CPU core ratio is 4050, and my RAM is at 3212. Now on the RAM, I can get it up to 3219, and from there to 3300 megahertz, it'll lock my board up. So we're going down, and I ended up CPU voltage going with manual mode to 1.39375. Again, I tried about every configuration you can think of to try to get as much out of each overclocking parameter that I could. My CPU sock, I ended up with 1.13, which once you hit enter, it goes to 1.13125. My DRAM, motherboard has it set at 1.395 volts. I have it set to 1.38 volts. My 1.8 PLL, I varied this quite a bit. I ended up putting it to 1.99 volts, which it is running at 2.005 to 2.027 volts. My DRAM also fluctuates a little as well. I kept that at auto. So we'll go into tweakers. Now the tweakers, you take half of your DRAM, and I changed the voltage on the VTT DRR voltage. I put 0.09 and it changes it to 0.69300. I also, on the VDDP voltage, I changed it to 0.975, and the BIOS has it running at 1.002 volts. Now stock, I believe that was 0.921. Oops. Click on it. It's small rail for CPU I/O during runtime. This particular setting has worked trial and error very well for me. Now, my original overclockings, I didn't go into external GIGI plus power control. Unfortunately, after many attempts, my CPU voltage was all over the place, which entails not being able to get any type of stable clocking. So I tried 1 through 5 on load line calibration. I ran level 5 for a while, but I ended up running level 4 as my final setup. CPU low current capacity. On some of my overclockings that I got stable for different gigahertz, it ranged from 130 to 140%. And of course, if you click on it, it'll say higher value brings a wide total range and extends overclocking frequency simultaneously. But really, the low line calibration helped quite a bit. I also changed CPU power phase control to extreme. I tried CPU power duty control on T-probe and extreme. I put it back to T-probe. That was a normal setting. DRAM current capability, it was factory set at 100%. I changed to 110. Some of my overclockings at different gigahertz, I ran it at 120%. And DRAM power phase control, I believe, was extreme on factory setup. I've done so many different overclocking parameters that my notes started to mix together, and I'm like, is this for 4.08, 4.09, or 4.05, 4.07? If it's not set at extreme, that's where I put it. And those are auto. And advanced, I changed. Oh, there we go. Onboard configuration. I changed PCI Express to Gen 3. I took it off auto. N.2 link, I changed to Gen 3. Took it off of auto. I do not want to allow it to try to figure it out on its own. I want these to run at Gen 3. Gen 2, as I talk in the end of my video about the PCI Express portion of this, will play an effect whether you want to change your BLC whether you want to change your BCLK frequency. I believe this one particularly goes up to 140 on the 1700. The 1700X and 1800X, I'm assuming will probably go up to 150. I'm not for certain on that. I didn't test either one of those other CPUs. So, all right. So we're going to. Oh, hold your horses. Hold your horses. Wait a second. Now, I don't know if I did this on another video or not, Man. I'm losing my mind. I'm losing my mind. That's not it. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Monitor. Oh, there it is. QFan configuration. Wow. QFan configuration. CPU fan speed limit. Ignore. I do not. Oh. I've reset this so many times I forgot to go back in here and put it back to ignore. My Noctool fans do not run at that low of RPMs. Yes, PWM mode, that is correct. Lower limit profile disabled. Chassis fan configuration. Chassis fan DC mode, that is incorrect. That is chassis fan 1, fan source. Okay, chassis fan, ignore. I'm actually not going to mess with that. I'm going to let my fan control adjust. So the CPU temperature, my fan, I want my outband fan to match that at startup. So I'm not really messing with that. I'm going to go back in and change these to ignore. I do not want, it won't start, the fans won't kick on. So chassis fan control. I don't know why it's on DC mode. It should, oh, there we go. PWM mode. Should be on PWM mode. I don't, fan control, PWM mode. It should be on PWM mode. I don't know why. Chassis 3, fan control, auto. That is weird. Okay. So we are now going to wait. It's the first time it showed customized. Huh, what do you know? Okay. We're going to save, exit, and go into Windows. Okay. We're back in BIOS. Oh, what you're doing? We've already been in here. Okay, my stupidity has caught up with me tonight. We are save, exit. No changes. Okay. We are at 4.07 gigahertz. I'll go ahead and run a couple of these just real quick while we're waiting. So this is 4.07 gigahertz, and I'm going to go in and talk about some results that happened during the process of my runs. You're still on the original BIOS. Go down to your settings. Go to your system. Go to power and sleep, and then you go over here to additional power settings and move this down, and then you can change this to high performance, which And then you can also go into your change plans, change advanced power settings, and you can go in to your PCI Express, link state, power management, processor power management, maximum processor frequency. I changed it to 5100 megahertz, which obviously that's not going to happen. Then after that's done, we're going to go into display. And I think I might have shown this, but right now resolution is 2560 by 1440. Display adapters properties. Okay, that's going to bring up, voila. I might have shown this, but I'll go over it real quick. And then you click on monitor, and then right here, you click on it, and it'll show all the frequencies that yours can run. Mine will do 60, 100, 120, and 144, which I set to 144. And then you hit apply, and then okay, it's already set to 144. And so that should help your power management that they were doing an updated BIOS on. So I tried overclocking, as you've seen, 4.3 gigahertz all the way down to 4. And why in reverse? Well, I didn't reverse simply because why not? I mean, I didn't know, but I had a pretty good guess it was going to run at 4 gigahertz. Yes, it was a guess. I know people still can't get 4 gigahertz. But I figure let's make it fun. Let's try something crazy, 4.3. And that's where I started. So now we're going to take this the other way. I ran 4 gigahertz. All right, so I ran 4 gigahertz, and I tried it multiple settings, and I averaged 1765 on the low end, all the way to 1772. And typically it averaged about a 1769. That's right. Now, there's a bunch of testing I've done on here that you don't even see. But the 4 gigahertz, I think, rounded out about a 1769. Now, the 4.02, the bottom out about 1776, and it peaked at about 1783. It jumped around a lot. 4.02, about 1778, 1779. That's where that averaged about. The 4.03, I had a couple, 1782 and 1783, but it fluctuated all over the place. And I really didn't like the setup. 4.04, I didn't like how it started and operated. So I scratched that. Then we got to the 4.05, which the bottom end was a 1785. And it topped out at 1796. Wait. 4.05 topped out at 1800. Now, that particular 405 wasn't stable. Some high scores were actually from systems that I couldn't get rock stable. But I did get a 1800, which was seriously just randomized. Come back down into reality. The bottom end of 405 was 1785. I would say in the low, about 1790, maybe 1791 is where I averaged 4.05. 4.06 was another one of those gigahertz clocking speeds that I did not like. It had really poor performance. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, it did. Now, the 4.07, some of these scores were not locked in. I didn't have the system fully stable at that time. My locked in 4.07 gigahertz, I average I like how the 4.07, my final build turned out. 4.08, I believe the bottom end was 1800, 1809. It fluctuated a little bit too, but I think around 1801, 1802, somewhere in there is where the 4.08 averaged out. Of course, I did not get it fully stable. I will say that 4.08, 4.09, and 4100 megahertz, I could not get past a high setting on Intel burn test. I did on 4.08 and 4.09, and I don't recall on 4100. I did get past OCC testing, but I needed it to pass Intel burn test, and I could not. Therefore, I eventually gave up on those. I spent a lot of time trying to get those locked in, and I could not. So in the 4.09, which is where I really wanted to lock my system in at, it bottomed out at 1805, and let's get this higher. And it topped out at 1813. It averaged about an 1807 score for 4.09. The 4.1 gigahertz averaged about an 1805. 4.09 was what I really wanted. I actually spent a lot of time trying to dial that in, and I eventually just gave up because, hey, I'm on a Ryzen 1700. It's not the 1700X or 1800X, and I got it dialed in at 4.07 gigahertz. I mean, no updated BIOS. I'm using 3200 megahertz, or well, 3212 megahertz of RAM. I am completely 100% stable. So I'm like, what's the point of just trying to push it that one little bit farther? I am happy with 4.07, so I decided to just wrap it up. Even though I really wanted it, that's where I decided to wrap it up at. Now, you look at these scores, and I've looked around, and I've seen a few people who were able to get up into the 1880s. Okay, so this is at 4065, and it will fluctuate. It's at 4070. Let's see if I can put it over here to the side without making it go away. 46. See, it'll fluctuate around 4067. It'll get into 4070 something, low 70s. But my bus speed, 100.37, which is really was set at 100.4. My bus speed is slowing down my ability to get these higher bench testings, at least on Cinebench. Unfortunately, you're going to run into the point for me is I do not want to give up my M.2 solid state drive that's attached to the motherboard, which is affected by your PCI Express lane.